Hey guys, this is Aaron Spurlock. I am here at KVCH Studios with Dirk Ellis. He is an actor and director and stunt actor as well. I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it. I want to talk to you first off about your transition because I know you worked with Disney for a couple of years before going into acting. How was that transition, coming from working at Disney Studios and trying to get into acting?
It actually helped me a lot because before I got into theme parks, I grew up in Texas, and the only performing experience I really had was small theatrical stuff in high school, and I was a drummer. So I performed a lot in front of big audiences at pep rallies and football games. But I really wanted to be an actor, but I didn't know anything about California, and I didn't know the caliber of what they required to become an actor. So I figured if I moved to Florida and got into theme parks, that would be kind of a nice transition because I'm still, covered up by a costume, or I'm still performing a part that I'm trained. So I'm not just thrown into the movies. And so, I thought it was a really good idea to go to theme parks, and it really was. It trained me big time because it brought out confidence, it brought out personality. It taught me how to act without saying anything. Because when you're in character costumes, and all Disney character employees know this, that you have to learn how to tell a story without actually speaking. So you have to learn how to deal with kids, whether they're rambunctious or crying or happy, and learn how to communicate with them without actually speaking sometimes. So it was a really, really good transition, and it was kind of like, the core military training of acting for me is doing Disney theme parks. And then I went to Universal and SeaWorld. And
Yeah, well, I know you were with Disney. You actually got the chance to travel the world with Disney. You went to work in Hong Kong and Singapore. Was there a huge culture shock for you?
It was weird. People say, you'll experience culture shock, and I kind of almost experienced culture awareness, almost. I mean, it was really crazy going over there, and it was like, I kind of described it as like being in Hong Kong, a totally different planet. Everything was different. The electric sockets were different. The currency was different. The food was different. The people, the language, everything. So yeah, it was big time change, but I enjoyed it. I liked something different. It was like, being born again, trying a whole different world. Experiencing life all over again. It was a very, very fun experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get to talking about Ellis Evolved. How did that come about?
It started when I lived in Singapore. Me and my friends started making short films in our break room. The reason why we had so much time during work is because Singapore rains a lot during the rainy season. So we were not able to go out. As being a stilt walker and a power skip jumper, I wasn't able to go out on set because it was too slippery. So during the rain, we would make short films inside. We made so many that I started saying, why don't I just start up my own YouTube channel / business? And we called it something different at the time. I called it Digla Productions. And the reason why it was called that is because my name was Dirk. All the Australians out there called me Dirk Diggler as a nickname. So the people started calling me Diggler. But because they're Australian, they have the R is kind of silent. It sounded like Digla. And everyone in Singapore at Universal Studios called me Digla. So I named it Digla Productions. When I moved to California, I changed it to Ellis Evolved to have a bit more structure. And I call it Ellis Evolved because I like to write comedy type films. And I like my comedy to be more evolved form of comedy, plus my love for science. So I thought it had a nice ring to it, and that's how it started out.
Yeah, I just watched your short film the other day when you did Size Does Matter.
Yeah.
I loved it. The adult humor that you threw into there was just tremendous. And I went through and actually shared it on my Facebook page.
Thank you.
We had a couple other viewers go through and watch it. I had a chance to watch Special Forces. That was epic.
Thank you.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Thank you. Yeah.
So what were the ideas? I mean, how did you come up with those ideas for Size Does Matter?
For Size Does Matter, it's weird. I'll be talking with my friends, and an idea will come to mind. I've written down at least probably 10 short films, and I've got all the scripts ready to go. And those just happen to be the first 2 or 3 that I thought of. The Special Forces, the original concept came from an old buddy of mine back in Singapore. He was kind of my roommate at the time, and he was my roommate out here in California as well. His name is Adam, and he thought of the original kind of idea of SWAT members having a moment and then breaking into a house, and it turns out they're actually strippers the whole time. And I was like, I thought about it, and I kind of added some elements. I added the whole cartel scene, which totally added a whole new element. And that kind of completed the film. And then the iPhone film, I was literally sitting on set one day, and we were talking about iPhones, me and my buddies, and we started. I think I came up with the idea. I was like, man, it sounds like we're talking about, it sounds like we're talking about the size of our manhoods or something. And we all just cracked up laughing, and we all just started improvising lines to each other. Like, dude, what do you got, man? He's like, oh, I got a 6. I'm like, oh, I got a 5. And then one of my friends over here, and he's an African-American guy, he goes, I got a 6+, it's black. And I was like, this is a great idea for a short film. So I wrote it all out, and I've written out several more that I really want to get started on real soon. And they all follow that same kind of format. So that's how it's just my creativity, just thinking of ideas for short films and what would make people laugh. I try to watch the films in my head through the viewer's eyes, not just through my eyes. What will make them laugh, not just me. So
yeah, can you go into some of the other stories, ideas that we can expect in the future?
Yeah, I've got an idea for a film that is it's a parody on soap operas. It's called The Young and the Dramatic, and every line in the film is very comedic based. It's almost like the movie Airplane. They're very, very serious the way they say it, but what they're saying is completely ridiculous. I've got another film based on military people working out, military soldiers working out, and there's going to be a very big twist in there where it turns out they're not what you think they are. I've got another one that's it's a movie about a guy. It's a true story about a guy who actually a cashier worker in a Walmart or something who apparently stole a banana, and he's eating it without paying for it. And security goes to interrogate him, and they bring him back, and turns out he confesses to all this other crime that he committed, and they didn't even realize all this. And it turns out he never even stole the banana in the first place. And it's a true story. So I've got a lot of ideas coming up that I really can't wait to get started.
I can't wait to see those ones when they come up.
Absolutely.
Now the big one. Now, as most people who we watch this know, you work with Shaun and Aaron from Bat. Yeah. Today just so happens to be the 4th of May. May the
Yes.
4th be with you. Yes. So I found it ironic. I'm sitting here talking with Darth Maul.
Yeah.
What's it like working on the set with Shaun and Aaron and the choreography that has to go through for those battles? I'm sure those are some challenges.
It's very fun being on set. It's also very intense. It can be. I was asked by Aaron 2.5, 3 years ago to play Darth Maul for this episode coming up, and I didn't know anything about Bat the Sun at the time. And then it was like a year or so later, I happened to watch the episode Superman versus Thor, and I was immediately hooked, and I loved the show, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to do the show for you. Well, about 6 to 8 to 9 months before we were supposed to film it, he called me up and he asked me one day, hey, would you be available this weekend? I said, yeah, what for? And he said, we need to play Deadpool. And I was like, okay, cool. I didn't exactly know who Deadpool was at the time. And I kind of looked him up, did a little bit of research, and I went in there. And the first night I worked on Bat in the Sun, oh, they kicked my butt. They really did. I had headaches, and my body was aching, my neck was sore, and everything in both those episodes that I'm in, you're seeing like literally 1% of what we actually filmed. I mean, 1% of all the fight choreography and everything, and plus the multiple takes. It was brutal. It was brutal, but I really appreciated their creative, their artistic, vision they had on the film, because we would do a fight scene, we'd do some boxing, or I was working with Amy Johnson. She was the one that played Harley Quinn, and we did this fight scene where we did all these dodges and fighting, and she kicked me into the wall or whatever, and I would go to watch the playback, and I'd be like, oh man, that looks great, and they would all be like, no, that was off, let's do that again. So I was like, man, these guys are really particular, and I like that. I liked how specific they were about what they wanted to see. So it's been a journey. It's been awesome. I've loved it.
Yeah, and I know the makeup and the special effects, especially that was used for the Spider-Man Darth Maul. I'm sure there was a lot of time and effort put into the special effects for Darth Maul.
A lot. I think they said it was pretty much the most difficult beatdown they've ever done. As far as just makeup goes, Jeff West and Chrissy Lynn, they were the makeup artists on the show. I would go through about 3.5, 4.5 hours a day on days that I had just my neck and up painted. But on the days that we had to do my whole upper body, that was about 4.5 hours. But the day we did Darth Venom, the white and black Darth Maul,
Yeah, the symbiote.
that was a 7-hour makeup day right there. I was in the chair from about 4 p.m. till 1 a.m. in the morning, and then I finally got on set that night. So yeah, it was a lot of makeup, and then the special effects CGI wise, I think they spent somewhere between 400 to 500 hours on the CGI, and most of the CGI is done by a guy in Russia named Nikolai, and he does all the CGI for Bat and the Sun over there.
Yeah, I know that they just came out with a recent one, for the Optimus Prime versus
Yes.
Iron Man.
Yes.
Was he part of that as well?
I think they used a different person, different company for the CGI for that one. I'm not quite sure exactly who it was. I just saw it the other day. It was really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they did a very good job with it.
Can we expect to see you in future things with Bat and the Sun?
I sure hope so. Aaron he's working on some pretty big projects right now, beyond Bat and the Sun, that not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it or not, but he's got some pretty cool things that he's got with some big comic book companies coming up, and he's let me in on some of the information about it, and I'm definitely hoping that I get cast for some of the roles.
That would be
Absolutely.
awesome. I think you're terrific at what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I had a chance to go through and get a little insight about your stunt acting. From what you told me, you didn't initially want to start out as you wanted to go just as an actor, and you just fell into stunt acting. What shows? I know you've done like The Mentalist. You were you did some work on 300 Rise of an Empire. What were some of the challenges in doing things like that?
Well, I started off as my first physical type of job was with Disney, and I started off as a Power Ranger, and I had to learn all the moves and everything, all the Power Ranger mannerisms and stuff. And I went from there into I did Darth Maul for Disney, and so I had to learn how to do bow staff. And I went from that into Tarzan in Hong Kong, where I learned how to do the Spanish web, which is like a rope that hangs way up high, and you climb about halfway up, and then you hold onto a loop, and then they spin you around in a circle for about a minute. And that was incredibly intense. And then I also did stilt walking, I did power skips. And then transitioning into movies, it was different because it wasn't live, like in front of an audience. So it was cameras and up close and personal, and there's a lot more money involved. With this short amount of time, a lot more money goes into it. So you got to make sure it's on. You're right in sync with the stunt coordinators telling you what to do. And you also know that another challenge is knowing that you got to do it right because it's going to be on movies forever. It's not like, oh man, that show, I messed up on that show, but I'll get it next show.
Yeah.
You got to get it. There's a saying I think by Tom Wilson, who played Biff in Back to the Future. He said, "Pain is temporary, movies last forever." And that's kind of how I think a lot of them said, just give it all you got. But it can be painful and tiresome. Injuries happen, the joints, the neck, the back, everything. It starts to hurt after a while. But learning how to be a stuntman on film was like learning how to be in control, learning control, like keeping eye contact with another fighter and making something look really good and really intense, but keeping control and not getting hurt.
I know there was some recent things going on, about stunt actors, and they're not receiving their credibility for
right
for awards and stuff like
right.
that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I actually because I'm still kind of new to the stunt industry, I didn't know much about it that was going on, and once the idea was presented to me about stunt actors not receiving certain awards, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, they have a point. It's very true. So I'm pretty supportive of that. Yeah, I think that they should get more credit and I definitely don't think that actors should ever claim they do their own stunts if they don't do their own stunts, because the stuntmen put themselves through a lot, and they have to really network and claw their way to the top to be able to get to where they are.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot. Okay, so you mentioned there were a lot of characters you've done. You mentioned you did Darth Maul,
Mhm.
You did Tarzan,
Mhm.
Power Rangers. What were some of your favorite characters to do? With Disney and with Bat and Sun. You're also doing Deadpool with Heroes with Issues.
yes.
Which character have you enjoyed playing the most?
Well, they all have their pros and cons. Tarzan was really fun to play because it gave me a chance to really just be like, when I first auditioned for Tarzan at Disney World, they took a look at me and they go, okay, and they said, here's your costume, and I'm like, is there any more to it? Like, oh yeah, your wig too. I'm like, wow, this is going to be this. Really, it got me, over any type of fears of, public, criticism. I just had to, because I'm wearing just a loincloth and sandals and a wig, and then doing that for Hong Kong as well was really amazing, because it was like the spirit of Tarzan was, what he stood for, and the kind of guy he was, big and powerful and stuff, and he wasn't afraid to show it. I liked that a lot about Tarzan. That was really fun. Darth Maul was really, really fun because I could step out of who I am and not be who I am, which I try to be, really nice guy and try to be, very caring for everybody. But Darth Maul is the exact opposite, So I really had fun playing that character because you could be super, super intense and kind of, just live that fantasy of being that, that guy that just everyone just moves out of the way for, because you have a mission to go on, And then Deadpool is super fun because it's real easy to be him. I just kind of be myself, but exaggerative. I just, say really, really goofy things, and it gives me a chance to really improv. I can really do a lot of improv with him, and really say a lot of funny things, and just whatever someone says to me, I just kind of go with it and just improv along with it, and just say whatever Deadpool would say. But I'm also covered up in a mask, so I don't get a chance to expose my face and show facial expressions, which I really like doing. That's why I like acting. I really like showing intense moments. So they all have their pros and cons. I don't really know which one's my favorite out of those three. Those three are definitely my favorite I've ever played, though. Those three: Deadpool, Tarzan, and Darth Maul.
You recently just went on a trip to Guam.
Yes.
What was the idea behind going to Guam? What was it for?
Well, I've worked for Marvel for about 8 or 9 years. I've played Spider-Man. I'm about to play Thor, hopefully soon. Spider-Man, Ant-Man, Captain America, Iron Man. I played the Hulk, and hopefully Thor. And I was there for, they had, soccer is really big over in Guam. It's a really big sport. And they were having this, I don't know if it was annual, I think it was, big soccer, like convention type thing, where a lot of teams gathered together, and they were all, a part of this big tournament. And they wanted to bring me over to be a part of that as Spider-Man. And they were having issues and concerns with bullying over there, and there had been some unfortunate suicides due to, bullying. So they wanted to bring me over there to spread awareness about. They were on a campaign tour about anti-bullying, and they brought me over to say a big speech to the kids. And I think I toured like 12 schools, a couple of hospitals, a few other organizations, tennis courts and restaurants, all kinds of stuff. And I came and I gave my speech to everyone as Spider-Man. So it was a really good opportunity for me to reach out to kids because they, like, oh man, it's Spider-Man, and he's telling me I can be a superhero by saying no to bullying. Oh, this is amazing. So it was a really good opportunity for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really can't think of anything else to ask you. I want to thank you so much for coming in today and doing this.
Absolutely.
If you guys want to see more of Dirk, be sure you go to the ellisevolve.com and you can go through and you can watch his new short film. You can see the one he did recently, Special Forces, as well. You can see him on Bat and Son's Facebook page and YouTube channel.
And I got a new show coming out also as well on LC Evolve, probably. It's probably going to be on our channel, called Real Heroes. It's a new show that me and my roommate are designing. We've already filmed 13 episodes, and it's about superheroes in their most epic moment of the movie, going through a real moment that humans go through every day, and it turns it into a comedic type of film, and then it goes back into drama and action again. And it's going to be very, very funny.
Well,
very excited about this one.
Yeah, we got to be sure to watch that
Yeah.
one. And again, Dirk, thank you so much for coming in today. I
I'm
appreciate
so happy.
it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's an honor to have you here.
I'm very glad I was here. Thank you for asking me. I appreciate it.
And I'm Aaron Schoenke, and thank you for watching.